Sack, but again, as you mentioned, a card that's been around now for over a decade, featured in both of these strategies.
Looks like Blake's going to start here with a bonfire activation, and it does resolve. Let's see if there's any follow-up afterwards.
It was actually a quarter century rare of the Wanted. It kind of looks like bonfire, but in quarter century, can actually be a little bit deceptive. Yeah,
a little bit of light there. So
beautiful quarter century secret, and I think he searched a dial star that may also be quarter century secret.
Going to go ahead and get that Divine Temple of the Snake Eye out there and place a card into the spell trap zone here. It's funny, even though you've told me that's not bonfire, I practically still see it because of how gorgeous the card is. But we are going to see Poplar be placed on the field, and then Diabellstar is going to send it to the graveyard.
So he uses that as sort of the fodder to special summon the Diabellstar from his hand, and now he's going to be able to set the original Sinful Spoils. Looks like he's really showcasing all of these beautiful quarter century secrets that we've seen. Oh, sorry, he actually set Wanted because he had naturally drawn the original Sinful Spoil. That's a comment that we've made several times this weekend. It looks like he has 2 copies of Talents in his hand. Because that Ash Blossom has been activated here in the main phase, we presume that in some capacity that Talents is going to be activated. I'm not sure though what mode he'll use. I think in this position he probably has to draw 2. Yeah.
That is what he goes for. Those extra resources are so important. While it's tempting to go ahead and place a card from your opponent's hand back into the deck, it may not actually get you anywhere, so he's going to continue by drawing 2. Going to go ahead and set that infinite permanence.
Wow, so a single copy of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring was enough to really stymie the opening play here from Blake. And now we'll see one of probably the many Kashtira monsters that we'll see in this match. It is Kashtira Unicorn.
Taking a moment to think there, Blake, clutching that infinite impermanence, and we're flipping it up. So the middle column is null and void, effectively, and neither is Kashtira Unicorn's effect going to be resolving. But we're going to Pot of Prosperity. Let's go ahead and get rid of 6 here.
We see him safely activating that in the zone furthest away from that infinite impermanence column. One of the things that you can see here is that Drake, like many players on Kashtira, he's utilizing quite a few Link monsters in his extra deck. That's something that varies from the original Kashtira deck list that we saw last year. We see Drake is incorporating cards like SP Little Knight, G Golem Crystal Heart, a very common card to combine with 2 copies of Link Spider. One thing that he's not actually utilizing, though, is Deco Talker. So I'm actually curious to see what exactly he's trying to do with all of these Link monsters. Potentially just going into Apollosa, something that he does have in his extra deck.
Well, he certainly must have a game plan to get this far in the tournament, but Drake is considering what card he wants to activate next. Not sure if he wants to commit, but looks like we are going to see. And you're definitely right. He is doing that just to make sure. He's reaching as far away as he can to make sure nothing gets negated by that lingering condition, the lingering effect of infinite permanence.
Now we see Kashtira Fenrir, special summon in defense mode through the Theosis. We commented on a moment ago that this deck, specifically the one that Drake is playing this weekend, has Link monsters. Of course, now he'll be locked out of Link monsters because of Theosis. But now he'll be able to search for a copy of Rysart. I think he actually already had a copy of Rysart in his hand, but either way, having access to Rysart. And because he searched Rysart, it's easy to assume that he has Scareclaw Kashtira in his hand, which in fact he does. So I only saw the Rysart previously, so we can kind of deduce quite a few cards from his hand here. But he does have 2 additional level 7s that he can put onto the field. I'm curious how he prioritizes dealing with this Diabellstar. And it looks like it's going to be the banish of Kashtira Birth to activate the effect of Rysart.
Didn't quite catch all of the cards that Blake lost, but looks like at least one of them was actually Bonfire. It's going to be banished face down.
Yeah,
now we
too bad.
Going into the Scareclaw Kashtira after all and getting rid of the Kashtira Theosis.
If this will allow him to go into Birth, one of the things that I was curious about was to see whether or not he tried to go under 5 summons. He's at 4 summons right now. Clearly he has 4 monsters on the field to play around Nibiru. But with Kashtira Birth, now he can probably go into his extra deck and not worry too much because he does have the follow-up with Kashtira Birth.
Curious to see if we'll get to see Draco Sack here as these 2 level 7s combine.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
The Dragon of Annihilation is here. I'm going to go ahead and attack that Diabellstar.
Yes.
So he's doing this so that the Dark Arm can activate its effect in main phase 2, so he wants to attack and then clear out that set Wanted and the Divine Temple.
Certainly good stuff. Again, only 150 damage here because of the Pot of Prosperity. They're halving all the damage.
Yep, always important to note when Pot of Prosperity has been activated. It's going to throw the math off a little bit.
All of a sudden, we got 50s, right? And so another 1250 here from the Kashtira Unicorn. And some damage there as well from the Kashtira Scareclaw. Going to main phase 2, looks like we're going to see the Kashtira Birth.
Yep.
Actually going for the field spell. May not be worried about the face down since it didn't do anything in response to the activation of effect or an attack, so it could just be a dead card.
Well, Darkroom can activate again here, and what he wanted to do here was put one of his monsters into... Oh, he's choosing not to. So what he's actually instead valuing here is those. He knows the set is wanted, so maybe potentially he views that as a card that's kind of inconsequential, but he wanted to get that Kashtira Fenrir somewhere so that it could be revived with Kashtira Birth so that he can pass with the Zeus interaction and both Unicorn plus Fenrir.
Well, he may have also wanted Seeker of Spinful Soils to be activated because it's only going to get a Diabell Star, and as you know, monster effects really get Kashtira going, right? They're able to banish so many different cards face down, but we'll see if that pays off, allowing him to keep that card just going straight into Zeus. So it looks like he's going to go ahead and search out that Snake Eye Ash.
One of the things that I think is interesting, if you knew you were going to go into Zeus, I wonder if you should have utilized the Scareclaw Kashtira as a third material. For Dark Armor, it's 2+ level 7, so you could actually have gone into it with 3 materials. That way you could have destroyed both the set Wanted, or at least tried to destroy the Wanted. I guess it can just be chained. Kind of depends on how you want to sequence that, but if you forced out the Wanted on your turn like that, you'd be able to use the Kashtira Birth and then banish some of the follow-up from the graveyard, so you would kind of put the pressure on that Wanted activation. So it's kind of interesting to see, because again, if you had gone into 3 materials, you've been able to destroy the field spell and then target that Wanted, and then still go into Zeus with 2 materials.
Well, he's only sitting with those 2 materials right now, and Blake is going to go ahead and summon that Snake Eye Ash. No response of any kind, so we're going to go in and grab another Poplar there from the bottom of the deck.
We'll chain to Unicorn to look at Shark Shock and Magic card from the face down.
Let's take a look at that whole extra deck here. Primarily just some of the greatest Link monsters ever made.
I feel like a lot of players just go right for Promethean Princess or SP. Looks like it was in SP.
Well, when Promethean Princess is your favorite card, right, and you're representing it even on the extra deck sleeves, seems like, maybe my opponent intends to summon this.
Yes.
Arguably one of the most powerful Link monsters we've ever seen.
It really, really is. It launched fire really to the forefront of modern dueling, but it's not like it can't be beaten. It's already been banished by that Kashtira Unicorn, so it's not going to be an issue. For now. Looks like the Triple Tactics talent is about to come down. I'm curious to know if maybe it is going to take a monster, so let's see.
This forces the Zeus activation, that's why he's doing it here.
You have to do it. Oh.
I was going to let this resolve.
That is interesting.
He actually has the ability to take the Kashtira monsters too, but of course Zeus makes the most sense.
Activate Zeus.
And we're just going to activate Zeus, so let's see.
Yes.
Yep, and now we activate that Wanted that we know. All things considered, the Kashtira Bird was able to resolve this turn, so maybe that sequence of forcing out the Wanted didn't end up mattering in the grand scheme of things.
But to lose all your monsters, I guess to a certain point you would expect maybe your opponent doesn't want to use the Zeus effect immediately. They don't want to clear out their own Snake Eye monsters, but...
I think you don't give them the option, right? If you know that Zeus is on the table like that, it's face up, you kind of just want to make the decision for them, because if for whatever reason Blake was able to do something different and just hold the Zeus for later in the turn or whatever it might happen to be, it could really be detrimental. You don't want to give your opponent any flexibility whatsoever. Like, for example, maybe he leaves that on there as a way of playing around a card like Effect Veiler. You can obviously chain Zeus as Chainlink 2, or would be Chainlink 3 to an effect. So just giving your opponent the option, even if you don't even have Effect Veiler, I think I would have just used Zeus, kind of bit the bullet. Though granted, he could have potentially selected then a Kashtira, different monster. No, he would have to just take the Zeus. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
He banished one face down off the rise, but I didn't notice. Unfortunately, it is still an illegal activation. So just going to have to give you a warning for
Just getting a little bit of feedback from the judges for a warning for an illegal activation of the card there. Again, because didn't pitch the correct thing, but we are going to keep on playing here. It's just a warning. No harm, no foul.
I think the 3 banishes face down off of Horizon may have taken a card out of Blake's deck that he thought would be there upon searching.
Sorry about that. It's all good.
But now we have that Flame Merge effect, and this is really where we start to see Snake Eyes accumulate a ton of advantage. The fact that Promethean Princess is still in his extra deck will probably come into effect at some point this turn as well.
It's like maybe counting up some numbers here. But instead, going to go ahead and link summon a relinquished Anima.
Yes. I think I asked for it. Yes.
Yep. So this is a way of basically just putting a monster on the field, but still being able to activate Ash's effect, right? By having Poplar go to the spell and trap card zone, Anima onto the field. You essentially are in the sort of the same underlying game state, but you have the Anima on the field with the Flame Merge.
25.
This looks like it's over 8,000 damage, so without Pot of Prosperity being activated this turn, that's actually going to wrap up our first game
Losing
here.
the first game.
And again, one of the things I'm really curious about is Drake is not playing some of the extra cards that I would assume you would incorporate into Kashtira, like Decode Talker. He's instead incorporating cards like Apollosa, which is a pathway with the opening play utilizing Link Spider and G Golem Crystal Heart. Well, I was curious to see what he would do if he had his typical Kashtira opening hand, and instead he sets 4 spell and trap cards.
That's incredible. We do see there's an empty Kashtira Theosis in his hand, not doing anything without any of those monsters. So this might be a case of all breaks and no gas.
Sorry, guys.
So here's Pressured Planet Raisoth, a card that has recently been reprinted actually in our Rarity collection. You can get that in beautiful Quarter Century Secret Rare.
Hey, the Platinum Secret Rare ain't bad either.
That is true.
Just sure you-
I think a bit of a modified Platinum Secret Rare. These ones really pop.
Oh, yeah, no, the cards are certainly gorgeous there. But speaking of gorgeous, looks like it is a great opening here as Kashtira Unicorn slaps down on the field.
Imagine being Drake on the other side looking at that Wraithsoth and Unicorn and thinking,
And
man, I really wish I had those in my hand, and I'm playing multiple copies of both of those.
It's like, where's my Kashtira cards?
Okay.
Looks like it's going to be good, so we're going to go into the deck, maybe grabbing another Kashtira Theosis and adding a little bit more to Drake's just humbleness, but instead it's going to be Kashtira Birth.
Yep, that's really the only target in his strategy. I actually have seen a few players playing Theosis in their Snake Eye strategy. That's not the case here, though, for Blake. He is essentially playing just that singleton copy of Kashtira Birth. So we see that beautiful Wanted activated, allowing him to search out a copy of Diabell Star. It looks like he's going to send a Diabell Star to summon Diabell Star.
Well, one great card deserves another. Looks like a Cosmic Cyclone, a Solemn Judgment, and Infinite Impermanence is going to negate the effect there of the Diabell Star, the Black Witch. So we have a much better understanding from just being able to see some of those face-down cards of what Drake really has. And the Solemn Judgment is still there, so maybe an Xyz monster is not the right play here. But I feel like we are about
100%.
to see Draco Sack get hit by Solemn Judgment.
That's okay. I mean, this just shows you the power of having Diabell Star and Kashtira monsters in the same strategy. As your opponent is utilizing some of their interactions, the fact that they're both level 7s make it so that this Draco Sack is incredibly threatening. So if you think about it just from the perspective of trading card advantage, that Unicorn has already replaced itself with Birth, so we can basically just put it right back on the field. The Diabell Star traded with the Infinite Impermanence, so he made 2 kind of favorable just 1-for-1 trades. The Draco Sack in and of itself, because it threatens so much additional value, just prompted that Solemn Judgment. So he essentially traded 2 cards that had already replaced themselves for that Draco Sack and that ate a Solemn Judgment. So it just really shows you the synergy between the inherent nature of level 7 monsters like Fenrir and Unicorn with the Snake Eye strategy, as he's kind of whittling through Drake's spell and trap cards.
7 is certainly a lucky number, but it looks like the luckier number is going to be 1 as a normal summon Snake Eye Ash picks up a Snake Eye Poplar, and the Snake Eye combo gets going from there. Again, neither the Kashtira or the Diabell Star were normal summons, so you're just one great normal summon away from starting a brand new combo from a practically different deck. And again, Solemn Judgment has also reduced those life points by half, and so while it seemed like a great way to stop the combos, it's also drastically reduced Drake's life points.
Yeah, and with a Theosis and Cosmic Cyclone set, I'm not really sure there's going to be a way here for Drake to find another turn. We see the play that we saw in the previous game, where Poplar is turned into Anima. Link 1, Poplar finds itself into the spell and trap card zone, gives him that free fodder for Snake Eye Ash, and now we're going to have Flame Barrage hit the field. Now he only needs a little bit more. Of course, we have the boost from Race Off, increasing the attack strength of his monsters, but those aren't going to be the only two monsters that make it to the battle phase. We're going to see him go here into Nightmare Unicorn. This is another way of ensuring that the spell and trap cards the opponent has are irrelevant this turn.
And just by a single discard, you're actually getting rid of that, and maybe the only thing... I wouldn't want to chain the Cosmic Cyclone, right? But unfortunately, that's just one face down Kashtira Theosis, so it's not over, but it will be quite soon if more than 4,000 is placed on the board. And it'll be quite easy to do that with the Promethean Princess, and I think we're about to see that signature monster slam down.
Yeah, there's a lot of different pathways. This game, unfortunately for our Kashtira player, is essentially over. I think he's going to go here into... Oh, he's just going to Access Code. Yeah, that threatens game because of the activation of Solemn Judgment.
Access code effect to pop by banishing a fire. Yeah, sure.
So what's interesting here is because he has Birth and Talents, if he activates Nibiru, it's not really going to matter because he's just going to be able to Talents the Nibiru. And then he has Birth for the Unicorn in his graveyard, so... assuming that he used the access code to gain the 2,000 attack, he already has a monster that is enough to deal the final points of damage with resistance to Nibiru. So I wouldn't touch anything. Just try to enter battle phase. I guess okay, so the concern here is that one card in hand is something like Infinite Impermanence that can be used to drop access code's attack, but there's no chance that card in hand is that. This is potentially safe too, right? Because as I commented on with Talents and with Birth, you already have a follow-up that can still deal 4,000 points of damage. So activating the original here is probably fine as well.
Drake's face is so steely, he's not conceding in any way, so effectively Blake has to think to himself, well, the Duelist is still in the game, I've got to find a way to push through whatever it is that he might have. But as we both know, and our audience at home, doesn't seem like there's much. It's like we are going to continue these plays, actually.
So it looks like he's going to try and go into Appaloosa and then do the thing that I was commenting on a little bit earlier. Oh, he's going to go into Promethean Princess.
Interesting. So absolutely trying to just keep pushing against an imaginary wall here as we link again.
Going to go into Hida, or sorry, he's going to go into Raging Phoenix. I'm not sure that in his calculus he realized that because Solemn Judgment was activated that Drake is only at 4,000. This seems like a lot of additional steps.
And there's the